So does HCG actually boost libido or does it kill it? Well, the answer isn't straightforward because timing, dose, and estrogen balance really matters. The topic of this video and some of the points that I want to make is depending on how careful and strategic you are with your protocol, HCG can either be extremely beneficial and turn on all the sexual system and regain livelihood and function in the testes, in the male organ, in terms of mental libido, in terms of neurosteroids, in terms of testicular DHT conversion. This is really, really important. But like if the protocol is wrong, the HCG dose is wrong, how you're factoring HCG into your protocol is just not working for estrogen balance and some of these other things, well, then it can make some guys crash and burn. So we're going to talk about, what HCG actually does, what it actually does to guys that are on TRT in both the good situation and the bad situation, and how you can perfect the use of HCG to really dial in. All right, before we get started, look, Cortex Labs is a TRT guidance, sexual dysfunction resolution, and performance optimization company. What we specialize mainly in is people that are on HRT that can't get their protocol straight. I'm the guy to go to for that, especially around sexual function, libido, and erections. I've got one-off calls for coaching and consulting packages, as well as one-on-one coaching. These are ongoing programs. If you need a lot done, especially sexual dysfunction, we're going to need a lot of time. You can book me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. I built one of the most powerful nootropic stacks on the internet, on the market, and you can literally buy it. Take 2 capsules, brain turns on. It's down in the description of this video. You're going to love it. All right, so let's start off with this thread. What has HCG done for you? This guy is personally on 50 IU 3 times a week. It's a pretty low dose, but brought the balls back to normal size, increased sensitivity by a lot. Load size close to normal, increased flaccid size. Interesting. So this is just all benefits, except for little water retention, estrogens at 39, increased sensitivity a little too much. I don't last as long. I don't think this is a bad problem. I really don't. The water retention is going to go away. He's probably somewhat new to TRT. This guy using 500 IU a day, testicular retraction reversed in days. Size was restored in weeks to a few months. Semen volume also increased. Yeah, another guy with 500 IU at once, 3 times a week. Slight increase in size, high increase in sex drive. Okay, this tends to happen. Penis size, so bigger junk, erectile quality, and load size. These are all good things that are coming about from HCG. Now, why is it good? Let's talk about what HCG does, beyond it being a mimetic of luteinizing hormone. Look, it stimulates your Leydig cells. They produce testosterone. You also make some estradiol, and you make intratesticular DHT. With testosterone injections, my position is that you make a little less intratesticular DHT. Like, you're getting conversion in the blood, you're getting conversion through 5-alpha reductase enzymes elsewhere, but how are you really benefiting or contributing to the testicular system, which is your junk, when you don't have something keeping them alive? I mean, just at face value, like the testicles are dead unless you're using HCG or an equivalent. HCG preserves fertility, prevents atrophy, but also reintroduces more of a hormonal rhythm. Okay. There are neurosteroids that are produced from the testicles that do aid in libido on the neurological side. There's a set of actions that happens when normal testicular function is present that facilitate erection quality, ejaculate volume, orgasm sensation, right? All the normal function for like you to have good sex. Now, the most androgenic hormone for glands sensitivity, okay, for junk gland sensitivity, as well as erections, and the most consequential hormone is DHT. I've proven this over and over again with experiments with guys running 0.25 milliliters of topical DHT on the shaft, every other day, in addition to their TRT protocols, and some of the things that they were lacking, like sensation and erectile quality, all that stuff comes back. The erections especially are just fucking phenomenal when the person has enough DHT. Because DHT is the most androgenic and most consequential hormone relative to erections and sensitivity, I think that one of the major reasons that HCG tends to just really, really help men that are on TRT is via the DHT just circulating around that system down there. Whereas otherwise, again, with injections, I just don't think you get that to the extent that you need. And what ended up happening, like via all these systems, is libido is much more natural, sharp, and prime and primitive as it would be naturally. Given that it's mimicking luteinizing hormone functionality, HCG tends to deliver that. All right, so I mean, that's the bottom line. And if you could sum it up, yeah, it's like load size, volume, and all these kinds of things. But largely, I think it's the intratesticular system DHT that is the real benefit of HCG. Now, though, we should look at why HCG destroys libido in certain men that are on TRT. Look, we've already been over this, but the extra estrogen conversion, spikes of estrogen, which tend to happen with HCG for not dosing it appropriately, cause all manner of problems. You get dopamine inhibition when estrogen is just too high. So I think that's one thing. If a guy's on 175 milligrams of test and he really likes the anabolism, but his brain is set up in a way where he needs lower estrogen in order to have libido and for sexual function to be primed, then this is just not going to work, right? The extra HCG is just going to crash his fucking libido. He's going to need to either manage estrogen with an AI or a DHT derivative, or he's going to need to be down to between 85 on the low end and like 120, 130 milligrams of test a week, just kind of minimum effective dose of test so that aromatization isn't crazy and he ends up in his personal sweet spot for libido. But if he isn't able to do that because the test dose is too high and he hasn't recognized I'm a guy that needs lower estrogen, well then HCG is going to just like kill his protocol and kill his libido. Even if you're on that borderline, like say you're running 150 milligrams a week of test, you inject 3 times a week. You're probably on the borderline, depending on where you need to be with estrogen. And if you add even 250 IU of HCG every other day into your protocol, it's going to send you over. People like to think that this is rocket science and there's some other explanation for like why you're not having libido on TRT. It's almost always just estrogen not being in the range. And in this case, even if you're close, you bring in HCG and it fucks everything up. Now, to give you an idea of like what you should do in these situations, here's something really interesting that I found in coaching and that I recently implemented myself. First of all, you guys know I'm on 100 milligrams a week of test right now. It's the lowest I've ever gone besides one experiment of 70 milligrams a week, which totally fucking sucked, by the way. But like, at 100 milligrams a week, I'm doing daily shallow intramuscular injections with a 5/8 inch needle. So it's actually, I'm getting that dull muscle puncture pain. So I'm getting an intramuscular injection, which feels really good. Interestingly, like for my estrogen sweet spot, which is, I'll call it 30, like right around 30 is kind of where I fucking feel amazing. If you can find your actual sweet spot in numbers within a 5 picograms per milliliter kind of margin of error and stay there, every problem you have on TRT is going to be solved, I promise. But, for me, on that dose of test, even something at like 100 IU of HCG a day, which is 700 IU of HCG a week, which you would consider a lot, isn't enough HCG specifically for me to feel optimal in terms of sexual function on TRT. So one of the things that I recognize is if I'm at 150, 175, 200 cycle levels of testosterone, 400, 560, then, if I dose like 300, call it IU of HCG per day, yeah, it's necessary to keep the testicles functional, but the sexual system's still not good without managing estrogen. Whereas like on 100 milligrams a week, I can now tolerate 300, it's like 330 IU of HCG every day, split up into 2 injections. It's like, half in the morning and then half at 4 or 5 p.m. And there, like without the help of PD5 inhibitors, without other erectogenic supplements, I just have like killer erections. My libido is insatiable. The systemic DHT and intratesticular DHT are obviously very plentiful and functional. And I just feel like really fucking good. The sexual system's really, really good on that. And here's the crazy thing. I couldn't really tolerate that much HCG prior on higher doses of test without having to manage estrogen. So it really does come down to, like this whole notion that has been proposed before for some people that are having a harder time dialing in, with test and HCG, lower test, higher HCG is a good strategy. And in this case, you can take the dynamic from thinking that HCG kills your fucking libido, because it totally does at higher doses of test and like more aromatization than your brain, needs or the set point is used to. But lower test dose and more HCG might just work. And then the crazy thing is you get all the benefits of HCG, the semen quality, the climax sensation, the general sensation, the gland sensitivity, the intratesticular DHT, the intrasex organ DHT, which you really, really need for adequate erections. But you don't have the HCG just mucking up your protocol because it's sending estrogen sky high. I think that HCG is a precision tool for sexual function on TRT. Listen, if you're injecting testosterone or rubbing testosterone on your testicles, however you're administering testosterone, you have the energy, the anabolism, the confidence, the masculinity, all covered. But it doesn't always address the sexual side. It does for some people, doesn't for everybody. This is where HCG comes into play. And if you have to manipulate your protocol, Like if you can't take NAI and you can't take DHT derivatives because inhibiting aromatase like just tends to fuck with people regardless of where the serum says estrogen is, then you're going to have to take a lower dose of test and get that HCG at the sweet spot. Maybe it's 250 IU every day. Maybe it's 350 every day. Maybe it's 150 IU HCG every day. Once you find that spot, your protocol is going to be a lot better. Everybody that has problems with HCG, I would say almost everybody, it's just an indication that the neurological set point and the intratesticular set point for where estradiol needs to be is imbalanced, usually in favor of it being entirely too high. So this is where a lot of the strategies that we've talked about come in. Like, if you have to go on a lower test dose, but maybe you add a non-aromatizable androgen like oxandrolone into the protocol at very low doses, you're not skewing lipids, you don't have fucking side effects. You're strong, you feel good at the gym, you're able to put on mass, or at the very least just look really, really good shirtless. Well then, my friend, you've won. What I've learned over the years doing coaching on TRT is it's like every protocol needs to be approached surgically. With these basic ideas that estrogen too high is going to fuck everything up. You have to find the sweet spot for you. It's individualized, but generally, again, 25 to 35 for most guys. But then you got to surgically add in, remove, modify doses, lower the dose of test, add some Anavar. You got to surgically do these kind of things. Bring some Proviron in to a modest test dose and a little bit of HCG. There's all manner of different things that people can do to get dialed in, but therein lies the surgical precision with which people have got to kind of execute to find what restores balance in the sexual system, the intratesticular system, the neurological system relative to libido and erection. My main job, if you could just like summarize or distill everything that I talk about on this channel, with the exception of a few videos here and there, down to one thing, it's helping guys get adequate sexual function on HRT. That is primarily what I do. And I've seen enough over the years to understand that HCG does not have to be something that just fucks up your protocol. It can absolutely be implemented, but you got to be one of those people that doesn't aromatize loads because, you're in good shape and you take care of your body. Otherwise, test dose needs to be under control. You need to kind of land with the adequate amount of HCG, right? With adequate amounts of tests, but not over and not under, in the estrogen sweet spot, and then everything's going to be great. So HCG isn't just about the balls, boys, okay? It is a precision tool for helping people to properly dial in using hormone replacement, and specifically TRT. What has been your experience with TRT? Have you figured out how to implement it? Have you figured out how to dial in using injections of HCG? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Please comment it up. Let's get a chat going. As I said before, my primary specialty is in helping guys get out of sexual dysfunction on HRT or not on HRT, but usually guys are on TRT and can't get their protocol straight. There's so much misinformation out there and people pointing you in different directions on what to go, especially relative to estrogen, that I've cut through all the bullshit over the years. I've seen countless men analyze countless protocols. We'll get you squared away. So you can either hire me for a one-off call, we'll get you dialed in on TRT, or for some situations which are going to require a month at the very least, 3 months, 6 months, ongoing stuff, multiple protocol changes on your end, feedback, adjustment, the right tools to dial things in. Book me for a larger program. That is what we do. That is what people hire me for every day, and I get results. You can do that in under a minute at livecortex.com. Go buy a bottle of Torque. This is one of the most powerful nootropic stacks on the market. Prior to talking about HRT, I was into nootropics. I consulted executives on it and built one with all that knowledge. It's strong. Take 2 capsules. It's like, dude, this is way different than caffeine. This hits way different than any other supplement out there. It's a powerful nootropic that I built. It's fucking awesome. You guys are going to love it. Go buy it down below. A bunch of courses on nootropics, fixing dopamine, erectile issues, TRT, and a host of other things you can get at livecortex.com. All right. Give me this thing. Brother, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you're having a great week. Like the video, it makes a huge difference. Just hit the like button. It takes a second. It's free to do. Means a lot to me. Helps our channel a lot. Sub to the channel. 32,000 subs and growing. Breaking down TRT, HRT, libido, sexual function with fine precision every week. It's been epic hanging out with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Kick ass, rock on, and I'll talk to you boys in the next one.